And today I can hear the noise, and I'll explain why. I'm not actually insane. Well, I am insane, but not insane because of that later. Welcome to Stormwatch by GreyNoise Intelligence. Not even feigning like trying to do some kind of kitschy intro, Glenn. Anyway, so each week we drop the latest info on what's happening at GreyNoise. And I actually clicked on the wrong button, and I can't read my own text. There we go. Take a look at a roundup of important and timely cybersecurity topics, and toss out some expert opinions and the occasional conspiracy theory. Joining me today is Emily. Emily, welcome back. And you and Kimber, you cannot leave me alone with Glenn again. Nightmare fuel, literally the stuff of nightmares.
I mean, it seemed like it went okay.
It wasn't awful.
Ringing endorsement right there. Not the worst thing I've seen.
I'm putting this on my LinkedIn right now.
Glenn, not the worst.
Not awful. Okay.
No, I didn't say not the worst, just not awful. Yeah, okay, it's cool. We're not gonna explain why you were gone because that's personal information. But you may actually have it as an answer for the question that I'm tossing out today, because I think this is our last. Actually, I'll ask the Overwatch later. I think this might be the second to last Stormwatch for the year, but the penultimate Stormwatch of the year. What was, and this is hard, I had to think about this one as well. What was one of the best things about 2023 for you, Emily?
This is a really hard question, and I had all of maybe 30 seconds to think about it. I made it to the end of 2023, which feels real successful.
Not yet.
Almost.
Not yet.
We're like in the
That's
final
not dark at all.
throes. I mean, just, maybe that is a little bit dark.
Not crushing that marathon. I mean, I'm still like, I'm still super impressed about
race. That. It was, yeah.
So I ran a really long race. Wow.
That was cool. That like a distance PR. That was cool. Okay. That was pretty good.
Cool.
I'll leave it at that.
Cool. Kimber, again, thank you. Welcome back. Thank you for not leaving me alone with him anymore. I'm assuming that the construction and destruction that DOSed you last week is all over with. You had a jackhammer, I believe, last week.
Yes, I never knew how loud construction could truly be until last week. That was fascinating.
About 5 minutes
seems
before
to be
go time.
Yeah, it started at 8 a.m. It went until 4 p.m. and supposedly there's now electricity in the unit underneath me, so that's cool for them.
Did you get to use the jackhammer? Because I got to destroy a sidewalk about 25 years ago with one, and it's the coolest thing ever. The feeling of power, the abject power you have with it, it's amazing.
Can you believe that they don't share those things on construction sites? Rude. Very rude.
Yeah, but
I don't know, like it was kind of a common thing for a while, but you could go, like people would rent a field and rent bulldozers and stuff, and then you could just pay by the hour and go like play. I did that 1 year. I think it was like
it does sound amazing.
And I did that. I received that as a gift 1 year for Christmas, and
it's like Tonkaland. Is that Tonkaland? Is there Tonkaland?
I still think about it. They've closed since then, or else I'd probably do it like once a year. You got to move a car, you got to drive over a car, you got to it was great. Anyway, I miss it.
Nice.
Well, if people follow me on, I'm never calling it X, I'm calling it Twitter forever. I did ask how to get forklift certified last week, so.
Seems like a useful skill.
Instructions on the brain.
Yeah. I mean, if you can make it part of the show, does that mean you can expense it?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Vishal will be totally fine with that.
No totally fine with forklift. Absolutely. Yeah, learning and development, 100%. So what was one of the best things about 2023 for you, Kimber?
I have to say, one of the highlight things for my year was crossing off of my bucket list, doing the Narrows in Zion National Park.
Oh wow!
Where
nice.
You get to actually wade in the water and go up the canyon in the water. It was really cool. It was definitely one of the highlights.
That sounds awesome. That just sounds awesome. I guess I gotta ask Glenn. So Glenn, what was one of the best things about 2023 for you?
Maybe it's this cool mug that showed up at my doorstep yesterday.
Wow. Wait, are you the only one of us that has?
I don't know. Where's your Stormwatch mug?
Mine is coming to me right now. So check your mail, Bob and Emily.
I actually did this morning. I haven't seen something yet, but I did. I was like, I have to check, and no, not yet. But vigilant.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna be a little cheesy and say this is the year I joined GreyNoise, and it's been pretty wild ride, and made a lot of friends along the way, and here we are. Didn't expect this, so you know, everything else sucks, but this is cool.
Thank goodness. At least this isn't on the
Yeah.
suck list. That'd be
Yeah,
really
seriously.
awkward.
It would, yeah, it would be a little bit. Yeah, just a little bit. I mean, because I won't get there. So I will go before I ask Overwatch. I'm gonna say so. So this not 2023, 2022. My grandson was with us in Acadia, but he was a wee lad and wee lad, so he wasn't even walking really. So he was carried everywhere, and I actually got to hike with my grandson in Acadia National Park this past summer. And
That's so
that
cool.
it's just a warm and fuzzy, like second generation now actually hiking up mountains and stuff with this. So that was like the highlight of my year this year so far.
Second or third generation?
And so not I guess I'm excluding myself, but if I include myself, I guess that's
include yourself. Yeah,
I don't do generation things well.
Apparently.
I'm almost dead, dude. Seriously, what are you talking about? All right,
I know, it looks like you're in a smoky room right now.
Well, I mean, this dense fog advisory, I had to do something, and I did not have enough time to get the animated one, so working. So like this, you have to put up with me. Look like I'm burning in fire right now, which I might actually.
Bob is hotboxing.
At least there's not the fire on top of your head this week.
At least there's no fire on top of my head.
Flames coming out of your face.
Oh, they put the fire out,
much to the
and now
disappointment.
this is what's happened.
And now I got and now I got smoke running around. And I do have to say, so we do have our youngest. Before I get to you, Ashley, I was informed like literally minutes ago that our youngest listener, who I also just mentioned, Benjamin, is now a regular watcher of this every Tuesday. So we at least have one viewer. Ashley, we know this. And Benjamin, hi, Pempa says hi. So none of this would go smoothly at all. And speaking of smoothly, turns out that I had this cool fancy AI thing sitting in between my headphones and the output from Stormwatch. So the past couple of times when our Overwatch, dang, okay, makes note to self, out of will. All right, so don't let AI mess with the sound output, because it was literally noise canceling the Stormwatch intro music, which I could not hear. So I heard it today, and it's lovely. I missed the thunder. So Ashley, none of this would be working well at all without you and your capable Overwatch duties. What is your favorite, best thing about 2023? Fair.
Stormwatch?
I mean, I guess I have no choice but to accept that, because you have the power to destroy us at will right now. So I will let that slide.
I'm a little concerned with all
I'm going
of
to switch
the periods and question mark, but we'll have to come back to that offline.
No.
I mean, keeping track of what Glenn is doing could be a hobby. Well, wait, no, that would require Glenn to do things. So we, for those that don't know, we do have a podcast. We have oddly more video watchers than we do podcast listeners, although they might be video listeners, because that's a thing. We will also have new domains coming up soon. We just need to wire up all the things on the back end for it. So you don't have to worry about doing these things. Like us and subscribe on all of the things, like press the like button, press the thumbs up, whatever it is that you kids do on those things. It does help spread the word for what we got out there. And we're going to start off with more good news. We actually have good news again this week. I don't know how this is a thing, but we actually have good news. And this one is now, there's a little bit of bad news. Like, first of all, like, it's bad enough we got hackers with hoodies. Now we got BlackCat hackers with hoodies. This is the ALPHV BlackCat ransomware gang, and they're reported to be semi-busted anyway in the past few days. A couple of security firms have been noting, well, they're offline, like they're not posting any new stuff. And a couple of security firms have confirmed that it's because of a move by the authorities. But there's a bunch of other ransomware gangy people out there that are like, oh no, they'll be back like in a week or two. So like that tends to happen. But it's good. These folks have been like just prolific. It's been depressing. So I'm glad that there's at least a little bit of like a reprise from or a respite from this for out there. Has anyone else found any more about this, or did it cross your news streams like it crossed the one for Stormwatch?
I mean, I heard about it, but I think what I heard about it was people being strangely sad about this
They were active
in
and
some
capable.
circles.
Yeah, they were active and capable. Yeah, I mean, I don't like,
Yeah.
again, we don't like to say, like, we're not saying they're great people, but we got to respect the
No.
talent, and like they had talent.
Yeah, exactly. It was mostly like they're doing something very interesting with their whole Robin Hood bit is kind of what it seemed like they were going for. And I think a lot of people were resonating with that in a very interesting way. But when you get to ransomwaring, I don't know. I think you kind of lose your Robin Hooding if you get to ransomwaring anything that affects people's health or well-being. So you got to be careful about that. And if you go after the casinos, you're definitely going down. So that's probably
This is also true.
what did them in.
I also just had a chance to see the chat. I don't want to miss this before we keep going because we have a really jam-packed episode today. Leslie Wheatley, former but always will be GreyNoiser, is watching today. Leslie, shout out! Thank you for joining us. We miss you. We miss you dearly. I hope you're having fun in space. Like Leslie's actually in space as a space person right now. So we have to go from good news to not so good news. Well, actually, here's the details about that one. Law enforcement reportedly behind takedown BlackCat ALPHV ransomware. So anyway, you can go read that if you want to go read that. So we have breaking news, and we have new breaking news intro stuff here. Actually, we got to get music for this sometime down the road because we actually have animated breaking. No one cares about the animated breaking news. Okay, we're gonna go on. So we have another horrible thing. Ooh, oh, how did you?
You all right, bud?
Oh my gosh.
That was fast.
Oh my gosh.
I was like,
Ashley, that's wow. I'm speechless. Glenn, we should record this because that doesn't happen a whole lot. See, a self pwn is that. So we have, Glenn, you wanted me to put this in here, and like I haven't dug into this at all because it's yet another Apache Struts vulnerability because they can't seem to fix anything. So maybe you want to tell the folks about this one.
Yeah, more for because this is pretty breaking news. So like haven't dove into it, but basically sharing for awareness that struts, when the vulns and struts come around, they're usually not great. And this morning there appears there's either a POC out or there are enough details to get a POC much quicker. So wherever this lies in the status basically between like, POC or not, it's going to be very, very soon. And so like just sharing for awareness because this is always something that is usually a little buried in applications. People don't realize it until it's too late. And we all know, gosh, how many years ago is that? Like 6 for the summer credit company? Anyone?
Equifax.
I do
Equifax.
not
Thank you.
remember. Yeah,
Yeah, Equifax.
2017.
17, yeah.
2017.
So
Yeah, wow.
and that like was a big enough breach that it changed how a lot of places do things, at least in theory. It caused conversations to imply that people changed how they do things and do vuln management, and a lot of accountability was attempted to be held. But anyway, so Stretch just always comes in with a bang.
A strut.
Oh, dang, I missed it.
Nice.
Thank you,
Sorry.
Emily. That's a good save.
Can I just ask, is that a fork of Comic Sans on this slide?
Yes, it is.
Okay. I just wanted to confirm.
Yes, it is.
in case people weren't triggered enough by the mention of struts.
So wait,
Comic
pause,
Sans on top.
time out. I'm sorry. I love that Emily called that out. It was funny because Bob was showing me how to do something recently and on his workstation, and I had the same question. I'm like, is Bob like the Viz czar? Is Bob like using Comic Sans? And then he explained it to me, and then I kind of felt a little bad. So go ahead.
Yeah, well, this
Bob.
isn't that. This is
it
isn't
Oh,
Sustainability.
dang it! You let
It
me
is
go
not
on
that.
for all of that without. Oh, come on.
Yeah, I
Sorry,
did. Well,
I didn't mean to
yes.
cause a sidebar. I just
Oh no,
noticed
like
that.
no. So for the audience, like that, the listeners,
Especially
it
the ones
is
that
like
can't see this.
the actual name of this font that is on the screen is called Chalk, which is a chalkboard behind it, which you also cannot see, which hence why I picked that one. It was a very quick pick. The actual font in question that Glenn was trying to chide me about is actually called Comic Code Ligatures. That's a beautiful coding font. It actually does cost actual real cash money too, and the font designer is a brilliant individual. So we can have a whole discussion about that some other time though. I mean, unless we want to like spin off of like a font typography like podcast thing,
Well,
which we could
I
do,
just want to say the labs team, very deep believers in dyslexia safe fonts.
which is that is that, and that one is very
Yeah,
safe. Yeah.
exactly. So if you are in the neurospicy camp and you're not on those dyslexia safe fonts, you need to be.
Wow. So like I got my grandson, my daughter, the design team all against me today. This is
This is
great.
the
This
best
is just great.
day
This
of
is the
my
best.
GreyNoise
It's like this is like
career.
Glenn's birthday, really. This is what.
Yeah,
I,
yeah.
I think you need to change your answer, and this is the best thing
12/12.
happening in 2023.
Yeah, 12/12 is my best day of 23.
Oh man. All right. So we are going to get off of this because we have a lot to talk about with this one. This is going to consume most of the pod today, but we'll try to get through it in time this time. So Talos, again, great team over there, has a great blog post on Operation Blacksmith because they have cool names for everything. The Lazarus organization, terrible cyber criminal group, using this novel Telegram-based malware written in this language we're going to talk about soon. We're not talking about that initially because we're going to talk about exactly why we're doing it. So this is the thing. They're using this new D-Link thing. We're going to get to it. It dropped a bunch of rats, but the first thing I want to talk about is they're targeting three very specific industries: manufacturing, agricultural, and physical security companies. And when we were doing pre-show stuff, Emily was like, "That's interesting." In the whole, and she's been reading the story too. So Emily, why are those three industries interesting when it comes to this?
So this is based on perhaps outdated knowledge of Lazarus Group and just like DPRK operations in general. But I find it really interesting because typically, at least historically, and somebody please correct me if I'm wrong, they've gone after targets for financially motivated reasons to fund their operations. That tends to be kind of their like flavor of APT activity. And I'm just kind of curious, like these industries are interesting just because I wouldn't necessarily like immediately go to them as far as like things that you would want to attack for financial purposes. But then I also like, again, I don't know. But that just sort of stood out to me because I know like they've gone after like not necessarily just Lazarus Group, but North Korea in general has gone after like cryptocurrency operations, banks, things like that. And so this seems like a little bit of a departure from that type of activity or targeting. So again,
Mm.
I'm not super up on my North Korea knowledge at this point. So this could be like a whole thing that's been going on for a while and I'm just out of the loop.
Yeah, I don't think it has either. I'm just great because I have some thoughts too, but I want to hear from everybody before I blather. Glenn, Kimber got some posits on why they were going after these particular folks.
I don't really have any like thoughts that I feel that are data driven. I think my thoughts are more that it's getting the bar just keeps getting lower, and if there's an opportunity, like it's just the opportunistic aspect of these groups is just increasing. So like if it's there and it works, and we're 3 years past Log4j or 2 years, whatever it is,
Two, yeah, it's
2 years, like and I know we're going to talk about more about this in a second, but the impact is still there, and like it's just an opportunity. Like people aren't looking at it anymore, and that's where a lot of Log4j lives, is in, or at least for still vulnerable
Right.
uh, applications or servers are in those industries. So like I don't know that there is like a lot of thought behind it. But that's just a gut feeling, not anything data driven.
Right. One reason why I was thinking that it might be the target is because of the nature of the initial access vector, which was Log4j. So this is also a Log4j section. This is the 2-year anniversary of Log4j. Thankfully, there wasn't a whole like. Well, actually, we're going to talk more, so we'll get to there. And one of the things about Log4j, like we've talked about this a lot with this and other contexts of other things. In Log4j, like one reason why we see repeated activity is that if you happen to like restore a backup, you are going to get compromised again or compromised for the first time. And if you just can't patch your stuff, maybe you put a mitigation in place, or maybe you just can't even do it. So it's just hanging out there. You're going to get repeats on those things. And manufacturing, agricultural, and physical security, they have the equipment that they all use that might be impacted by Log4j. They can't patching those things is just not a thing. Like there is no really good strategy for doing all those things, especially with legacy environments. So one of my like as soon as I saw that list and Log4j, and then some of the other news we're going to learn about later on about Log4j, it's like, oh, that may I actually went there lazy. Actually, Mike said that the DPRK teams or deep whatever, they're just lazy because this was easy targets. That's kind of what my thing was.
I also wonder if there's something to, like for a security program, firewall rules, exceptions, any kind of controls should have an expiration date that gets re-reviewed. Like things aren't supposed to live
Right.
unaccounted for forever. But 2 years is a long time for a firewall appliance or an edge device or something like that. So I wonder if some of this that we're going to talk about, like how vulnerable things still are to Log4j, could be like coming things that have come back to being vulnerable because maybe the firewall was replaced and that rule wasn't replaced, or maybe the firewall rule expired and people didn't, the orgs didn't re-review it or renew it or whatever. So, at 1 year, at 2 year, like at these kind of like normal time increments of a policy review, I almost wonder if it wouldn't be surprising to see a little uptick in compromises in this area just because it's
Interesting.
forgotten about.
Yeah, put aside. So speaking of Log4j, hello Log4j, my old friend. This is some historical data that we have on Log4j, and as everyone can see, we do mention this on a semi-frequent basis. We do see Log4j all the time. Turns out we saw Log4j a lot, like right towards the end of October, beginning of November, as indicated by that giant spike of things right on there. We don't know why people do things. We don't have teams to investigate those things like other folks do. Just if you think that you're safe from Log4j, that this is one indicator that they're poking everywhere. If you have something just like that happens to be uncovered again, they're gonna find you. They're gonna get in just like they did there. And I want to take a couple minutes. So, folks that can have access to our external public facing SIFT can see this tomorrow, or maybe they can see it today because I think I took these pictures yesterday. So you might be able to go to the day. We have a 30 day like or 7 day uh time window where you can't see things because there are O days in SIFT. That's why we have to try to like not have people have access to those. I was poking through them, and the fifth was a fairly heavy Log4j JNDI kind of a day in SIFT. And this is an example. If I were to scroll, I can't because it's a picture, but if I could scroll, this is one of those ones where it was like they just shot every possible header known to anybody and with JNDI exploits in them and went through on there. And we've been noticing that SIFT is catching a lot of novel JNDI payloads. This is an example. So we have SIFT going back to right around August, September. And I went back and I went through all of our data. I subbed out all the ones where it was finding novel clusters of Log4j, new Log4j, where we also had a tag because we have some time deltas that we do on SIFT for that. We don't need to go into a lot of detail on that here. But for the folks that can't see this, like I definitely want you to like maybe try to get the PDFs and see it because we've seen regular activity of novel payloads that we do not have, like that we add to our tag. We do this SIFT thing internally because we see there's a new novel payload, we update the tag, then we tag those new things moving forward. So it helps basically refine the tag that we already do tag for everything else, and we get these new ones. There was a major spike in new payloads, basically right towards like the first couple weeks of November. We basically 30 new payload clusters that we saw with this that we identified, and there was actually a recent spike just the other day, as you saw from the screen. And there's a little bar on here. This is
Wonder if
just a
that
little
was
disconnect.
timed to be
Yeah.
right before the Thanksgiving holiday for a lot of folks in the US. I don't know.
Oh yeah, so people just aren't watching what's going on, and they have
Mhm.
no
Or
chance to react to it.
during.
Or they
Yeah,
can
or
get
during.
longer dwell time, like if they compromise
Yeah, yeah,
before, then yeah.
right. So like I'm just curious, like so like why so like we're doing more speculation now than we know the answers to these things, but I'm curious what you all think. Like, why are people putting so much effort into creating novel payloads for Log4j? Like, is it like this isn't all DPRK? This is everybody. Like, why are we seeing this?
I don't think it's entirely like that deep
Okay.
because one of the interesting things that we've seen with Log4j is that it's become part of the canon. So like, you know how you can recognize the cross-site scripting like techniques, you know what a path traversal looks like, you know what trying to look for certain patterns looks like, right? Like that log4j string is now just a part of all of that. So we're seeing it get thrown into places that it shouldn't necessarily be because like somebody learns like, oh, this string makes a thing happen. Like this string leads to exploitation. So I'm just going to throw it anywhere that I can. Like it's an actual technique now, much like a path traversal is. Like it's it's always going to work in really interesting ways that people wouldn't expect. Yeah, this comment, I'm not sure who left it, LinkedIn user, but it is still working, especially in things like manufacturing where those libraries are still used for logging. I mean, that's what Log4j is a logger. Um, a lot of the payloads that we've seen historically in this, like because people are just throwing that string in places, they might not necessarily work. So somebody's kind of throwing this out at the internet and just being like, okay, what works? Nothing. Well, a lot of the time,
Yeah,
I
I
would
feel like there
assume
was a
that,
payload in SIF that was like, more than a page long of
right.
just the JTI like over in every possible way. Like they, just literally throwing it at the wall.
Yeah. So like they're novel, but also they're not because somebody is just like, oh, I can throw a string in here and maybe it'll work, but probably not.
It's kind
And
of
that's
like
called
low.
research.
Yeah. I was going to say it's low barrier to creation. So yes, which is research. So yeah.
And for folks that are going to go into SIFT and look for Log4j, like hopefully it will show up today or tomorrow. And if you're going into there, also look because it is some of the just lobbing strings, like Kimber was saying. Some folks have actually added some new obfuscation layers to it as well. So
Yes.
it's people trying to. I wonder if it's somebody that's like, hey, look at this clever thing I did as well as that on top. Because like the obfuscation, I gotta tell you, the obfuscation is annoying and cool at the same time. It's like it's
It
I
pretty.
love it.
is
I love it.
Yeah, yeah.
it's so cool to like see a really complex looking payload show up in SIFT and then you go to deobfuscate it and it's just Log4j.
Yeah. Oh man, this is great. Yes, and if you do find anything, like just like reach out because like we try to cover all the bases, but we got like millions of things coming in every day, so like we might not have seen it. So please share if you do
Well,
find anything.
the last thing I wanted to mention on this is like when Log4j originally happened, we saw this kind of pattern happening also where people were just like, oh, we can throw this pretty much anywhere. And
Yeah, yeah,
we had to modify the tag a whole bunch to make sure that it was being caught
yeah. It's
appropriately.
one
I
of the
mean,
uglier. It's one of the uglier tags.
It's super ugly.
it is one of the vulns that has more opportunities to be exploited, like, or meaning like, because it could be, it could be on a badge reader or on a badge and you swipe it at the reader. Like it can literally, you just don't know where it could be successfully exploited because it's so small and
Right.
so well done. Is that the right word? So I think it's
Yeah.
also like by nature a vuln that is more likely to be thrown in any possible place it can fit because people are like, I don't know, maybe my car key will be vulnerable. Like,
Yeah. Well, I think I remember reading like this Wired, I'm pretty sure it was a Wired article just being like, Log4j is going to change the internet forever. And I was like, oh, please. Like, that's dramatic. And then I didn't think about how this vulnerability actually works. It really is a simply executed common pathway.
yeah,
So,
Yeah.
just in
yeah,
a log
of course,
line, fine.
And it's everywhere.
Yeah.
it
Like
is
things vulnerable
everywhere.
to it are
We are,
everywhere.
and we are going to get more to that everywhere part later. This is almost our only section today for a reason because there's just so many layers to that one simple little story about a thing coming on. I have another SIFT example up right now for folks that are only listening, and I have this one up because I'm doing this is more of me doing like I'm being a jerk to VMware, but that's okay because they're getting sold again. Like they got bought and now they're going to get sold. They're kind of like the redheaded stepchild, and they're going to be like the funding levels for doing actual decent work at VMware are going to keep reducing and reducing, and especially where they get sold to. I have no idea where it's going to end up. I'm a VMware user to a degree, as I think most of us probably do something with it, and I'm worried about this one. Like, so this one is just showing that there's a Log4j request hitting a vSphere environment, and I just have to wonder like what's going to happen like once a lot of these because there's a big shakeout for folks that haven't been paying attention. There's a big shakeout in tech happening right now. Like lots of places are being sold, going under, like getting defunded or whatever. It's not a great time for tech in general. And this is one of those cases where this is like a foundational technology in a lot of places, and they're really like the intellectual property and like the actual company itself, which is not being treated very well right now. And I just have to wonder what duty of care like removals is that going to cause inside? Like, is this string going to work at some point down the road because somebody merges a thing from an old thing into? So I just have like I am just like the downgrade of tech or the whole like the whatever the molting of tech that we're starting to see is just going to be more fodder for things like this to work more in the future as a result of that or not?
That that kind of reminds me of like when I was doing vuln management for clients. And there was an absolute, like, this would be a really interesting talk, but the data would be hard to get. There was an absolute correlation between like whether you want to call it a risk score or a risk scorecard or whatever, but like your level of risk, there's an absolute correlation to like, maybe your average is, 80, let's just pick 80, and then you have a layoff, and then of course it creeps up because there's so much lost institutional knowledge or actual labor to do the patching or take care of these problems. So like there is an
Right.
absolute correlation between a reduction in force and decreasing, your security posture or whatever, for organizations. And I don't know if that's always like brought into the equation or at all when they have to make those decisions. But kind of backing up your point, Bob, like as far as like, well, it's not vuln management, it's application security management, and like would fully expect, for companies that have to lay off or reduction in force for their engineers, like to have some negative trail consequences.
And also like thinking about kind of the inverse of this too, when you look at kind of like mergers and acquisitions, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like then you get into this territory. It's a very different scenario, but kind of can wind up with sort of similar results where
Yes.
you have a whole lot of tech that you don't even know you have. It's all suddenly now under your umbrella security team, who you might have had some folks let go. You might have had some folks like taken off the team or something like that. And so, yeah, I feel like any very kind of consequential business changes can really impact an organization's security posture.
That's very true.
Whether it's reduction in force, whether it's being acquired, what have you, like those are excellent times to go after those types of organizations.
Yeah. Yeah.
Official Stormwatch advice to the masses: don't lay off your security forces.
Don't change.
Yeah, that'd be bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be bad. That'd be very, very
Don't
bad.
add or subtract.
Just stay the same.
So
Never
it's ti-
change.
it is timely, oddly, that I mean, I don't know if the attackers did stuff timing for this time of year because it's the anniversary of whatever. But Veracode has at the beginning of the month they released their annual like one of their annual vulnerability reports. At this time, they focused on the state of Log4j vulnerabilities as part of it. And there's a great blog post by Chris Ang, and like if you're listening, Chris, it's been a long time. And you're greater than I am, Chris, just FYI. So I wanted to just show this because they did it. They have access to a lot of data from a lot of customers because they're in a lot of places because a lot of people use their tech because it keeps their software working really well. And so they took a corpus of scans from between August 15th and November 15th this year across 38,000 ish applications, running versions, Log4j versions 1.1 through 3. And this is across 3,800 ish organizations. So this is a pretty big sample. So my first thought was like, normally when I go through these reports, Emily, like my first thought is like, oh, you made claims that's just terrible. And in this case, I'm like, this is a pretty good corpus. I mean, I know it's their customer base, so it's not everybody, but just as one data scientist to another, this is not a bad corpus from what I can tell on the surface.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely, I haven't read the full report, but yeah, I mean, this is definitely better than some that we see, I think, depending on, the skew of customer distribution, like kind of
Right.
industries and things like that. But yeah, I mean, 3,800 organizations is pretty decent, I would say.
Yeah. And yet if folks like don't read the methodology section for a report, but before you read the report, and you should do that. And if there isn't one,
You should do that.
yeah. And if there isn't one, you should probably not read the report.
Maybe just do
'cause
that
that
in
means they're
general
probably
when
hiding
reading
stuff.
anything that's rolling up percentages and data.
Yeah. Oh, totally. But like our
Just a
industry,
blanket
our industry,
policies as we go through
our
election
industry
year.
is Yeah, our industry is one of the worst when it comes to that. That has been for a long time. So the stat that is not shocking, like I thought I was ready for it to be like, oh, and like there's a billion. So 2.8% of those applications were still using a version of Log4j that had the Log4Shell vulnerability in it. So 2.8%.
Wait, you say this isn't shocking?
I actually wanted it to be well, okay, I wasn't. This is weird. I hate being in this position because I don't really want it to be larger, but I wanted it to be larger to justify some of the things that we were seeing. This is still not a tiny, like this is like almost 3% of those applications were running a vulnerable version of this, like that they probably could have had some bad things happen to it that way. So it's not great, but like I was actually hoping to be higher so that it would be a juicier thing, but I didn't feel like there was a good punch to this one. But am I wrong about that, Emily?
I mean, I don't know. I don't really have any like great priors to say like this is what I would have expected, but like it does also 2.8% of like how many applications, right? Like
So that
Yeah,
was
that's
yeah,
38,000. So yeah,
yeah. Okay. Yeah, maybe that's not.
Well,
and that's specifically Veracode
customer base.
so
customer
yeah, so
base.
Yeah,
this was basically for those versions. Like
right.
the overall takeaway I think was like 1 in 3. 38% of applications are using some kind of vulnerable version of Log4j.
I'm just curious how that scales, I guess. Like if this is just Veracode looking at what they have access to analyzing,
They do. Yeah,
then
it's well, it's just like every study like this. There are a lot of caveats to how the data collection was done and what the actual corpus is made out of. Yeah,
it's still a super interesting statistic. I think it's right
Agreed.
around what I would expect, like
yeah,
under 5%, but
yeah.
still not zero.
But yeah, like the stat, like the one thing like so I after I got over the fact that it wasn't higher and like we didn't have a good punchy thing to talk about here, this is the rate that spammers still use like for successful campaigns. Like so like if they can hit 3%, that is like their thing. And I'm not saying that you're gonna get one of these if you happen to go do attacks, but this is probably a big enough number of things that might be vulnerable that this is another reason why the Log4j attacks continue to happen
well,
because
the cost
there
is
is.
zero.
Yeah,
So
well, it's almost
Exactly.
yeah, it is zero for the most
And
part. Yeah.
also you have to consider so these are organizations again kind of talking about the sample that use Veracode, right? So like
Right.
think about all the other ones that don't
Don't. Yeah.
and what those numbers might look like.
A worse number than that I was like, I'm not shocked by this number, but it was a really depressing number. Is that 79% of the time developers never update third-party libraries after including them in a code base.
Look, if you update the library, then you might have to relearn how to use it.
Things might break.
Things might break. Why would I update a thing that breaks my stuff?
This
I'm
is
So
not a
like the
developer.
biggest
Don't listen to
pushback.
me.
What like no, but from my time like being on a security team like not at a security company, like that's one of the biggest pieces of pushback is like this might be a breaking change or this version
yeah,
might really mess things up in a way that we haven't accounted for. So like
you know what else is a breaking change? Ransomware.
well, yeah, ransomware, yeah.
well, but see,
I don't
like,
disagree,
Womp
but
womp.
so I will say that like I do feel a little bit of the pain. I had to do most of the UX work, such as it is for SIFT, and I wanted to upgrade the build system for it. That it's called Veet, and I couldn't. I literally couldn't because nothing else. Like it was ready to go. Not that this was vulnerable. Like it wasn't like it wasn't. There was no
sure.
vulnerability in it. There was no vulnerability in the build system. It's
Is
not going
SIFT
to
reporting
expose.
on
I'd say
itself, Bob?
We don't know this,
wow,
Bob.
this is a great day. This
Why
is
are you giving
wow.
away?
SIFT has become
Anyway,
self-aware.
oh yeah, actually he probably had Daniel probably has. If I think that's the next version upgrade that Daniel's planning. But like I couldn't do that there. But anyway, the one reason why I'm trying to tie this back to what I said earlier is this stat is scary because one of the and like I think it was Emily and Kimber that touched on this earlier. This is everywhere, and like it's not just you get initial access on the outside system. Like in a lot of cases, the initial like that outside system logs this crap to some internal system, which then does log processing on an internal system, and then that's the actual system that gets compromised, or it's the billing system that processes the data that the header was going through that does those things. It's not the actual external system. And just think about that. Like if everyone does what they tend to do these days is just patch their external stuff for Log4j and is not patching their internal stuff for Log4j and is not doing, and you don't have as part of your third party procurement process, the Log4j clause, like you probably all who's listening have probably removed or not, or hit lapse from your thing. this means that you might be vulnerable again to something internally that's Log4j-able, just because this stat is terrifying. Because it means those things aren't getting upgraded. The things that are on the squishy inside probably aren't seeing any love and attention from anybody.
So, Bob, do you think SBOM helps with this?
Oh, that's a really good question.
Wow, we were supposed to have a short show. Um,
All right, tune in next
um,
year to hear Bob's thoughts.
Yes. Short answer, yes.
Short answer, maybe. And maybe we'll have to do an SBOM show. We have a list of shows that are just one topic shows now that
All right.
I'm accumulating. The answer is maybe.
All right.
And that's
More to
I'm
come.
not doing a hot take because I'm not, hot Todd's listening, so I'm not doing a hot take. So anyway, they just for folks out there, we've got the diagram, great diagram, but it's a very nice. I like the colors that Talos uses for this one. Basically they get it, they drop a reverse shell, they get into recon, they deploy the 1 of 3 implants, and they stay there forever. Well, or until you maybe find them, I guess. And there's three different rats, and they do think like the one is written in something called DLang. We're going to get that up there. It also uses Telegram as a C2 channel. Block Telegram from your org, people. There's no
That's
reason for
so
people to
cool
be
and
on
interesting
Telegram.
to me. And I know it's not new,
I
but that's kind of cool.
I love
Uh,
Telegram as a
yeah.
C2. I
Oh
like
yeah, it's
IRC
great.
as a C2, like chat
Yeah.
protocols as a C2, my favorite.
I mean, X has been a C2 for the longest time.
Mastodon has been one.
Yes, it has. It's well, I mean, we say has been. They are.
I mean, still
C2s.
is probably, yeah.
Yeah. So like, and like Telegram bots are so easy too. Like they're just so easy to build. It's just great. So we're gonna talk about D-Lang for just a little bit because again, this was a multi-layered article that just gave us so many rich topics to talk about. And we're gonna circle back to this topic at the end if we ever make it to the end. Ashley, apologies. So there's a article from the Register focusing on the fact that these folks use D-Lang to create this malware. And like Lazarus is not the only one using memory safe languages. Like, and that's an interesting way to phrase it. There is a reason why they're using memory safe languages, but that the memory safe is only a part of it. And D-Lang isn't the only language that they're actually using. So there's an article if you want to go read that. It's got, as usual, it's the Register, lots of really good snark in it. For folks that don't know what D-Lang is, up on the screen is an example of it with an actual, like a bit of code and the actual URL if you want to go to it. It looks a lot like C, which is one reason why people are using it, because it's like the learning curve is a little bit less than Go or Rust, because Rust is very hieroglyphic-y. Go is very different from C. So this one actually bridges the gap pretty well. So go learn about D-Lang and have fun doing that. The reason why they're doing these things, like, so they're using Rust, they're using Go, they're using D-Lang. There's a couple other ones that they're using. There's even some Lua, like malware written in Lua as well. So they get to evade all the things that are looking for all the old stuff in the old way. So they get to evade, and it's more stealthy. You can write malware for you can make cross-platform malware now. It's been a thing for a couple of years. It's great. Like we've just all these great tools that they get to use against this that we also use to our benefit. They get improved, so the malware performs faster. And again, it doesn't crash as much. It's great. They get to use all these really cool frameworks to help with all their recon and all their data collecting and encrypting. They get to lean on the community and pretend they're good guys and like get some help for code and go on Stack Overflow and they get answers. Hopefully they just cut and paste so that their answers are wrong. But then everything's looking for things, right? And obfuscation, like it's like this is a way to obfuscate what's there, because the compiled Rust code and sometimes the compiled Go code and D-Lang especially harder for some of the analyzers to go at. And then like because of all the optimizations baked in, there's no like comments aren't going to make their way through into these things unless people throw strings in or something like that. So a lot of the ways that we do naive attribution, because I know some folks have some more capabilities, but most attribution is still naive. It's harder to even do that naive attribution. We don't deal a lot with, like, so actually I don't deal a lot with this. I will say that. Kimber, I know you and the team and other folks that you hang with deal with some of these things, like you do reversing and things like that. Have you come across a lot of challenges or opportunities to do any kind of reversing in this space, and has it made it more difficult to do that?
I'm going to solidly opt out of saying no. I don't have any
Okay,
any deep insight on this one,
gotcha.
unfortunately.
Emily, you got crew that have done this at all?
No, I also don't have anything super interesting to add here. I'm fascinated with this evolution, but like it's interesting. I did think of the when we mentioned Lua, it made me think of that recent Sentinel-1 report that came out. They've published a couple things about APTs using Lua, which I don't know, it's just interesting.
It's a
I
cool
think
little
there's some
language.
software engineers that are like building massive, like very popular apps and things that we all use probably like heavily at scale that are very jealous that this attacker group has such like flexibility in their code base and efficiencies in their code and can just
have at the systems without really anything stopping them. Yeah, it's
Mhm.
interesting. Yeah,
Freelancing with a twist.
Yeah.
Right.
yeah. One of the other things about this whole thing, just to close this section out, is using some of these toolkits and these other the alternative programming languages is helping to bypass a lot of the XDR stuff right now too.
Mhm.
So I mean, it's always a cat and mouse game for XDR. Like it's a thankless position to be in as an XDR company. But they've just got so much ahead of them on this one, and there's some other things you can do with it that make it really really hard too.
I mean,
Yeah.
that would probably be the best benefit, right? If you can't be logged and you're moving to memory safe,
Yeah.
Yeah.
that makes sense.
It's
So
just the whole like what more bulletproof malware so it doesn't crash. Because I do remember that being a thing way back in the day. Like malware, it would often crash more than it would actually run. I know things have gotten a lot better now, but like this is even like it crashed because people couldn't write C, and now you don't have to even worry about that memory crashing thing. Like it's not fair. It just isn't fair. Tool time. We're gonna cruise to this one unless anyone wants to dig into it a little bit more. We're doing this one. Gonna mention this AWS Kill Switch, the GitHub repo, the links, all the stuff. You know where to get them all from. We're doing this one just because trying to help defenders out primarily with what we do in the pod, and we've mentioned a lot of breaches over the past 6 months that have involved in some way, shape, or form folks doing bad things in AWS or through AWS. And if you have visibility, like if you happen to get a whiff of a log that seems like something's amiss, this kill switch is terrifying because like if you do it, I mean, if you literally stops an account from working. It's really scary. So it applies a control policy, service control policy. It freezes the state of a targeted account, literally causes like it neutralizes the IAM role. All the sessions get immediately revoked. The target IAM role is also deleted. Like this is undoing this is actually like like you have to sit at like the console and type AWS CLI commands or go into the console and click stuff in the GUI. There is no automated way back to back to safety with this or doing this. So there's a lot of caution in this thing about how to use it, how to test it as well. So it isn't just like a tool that you should just easily and just like blindly throw up and kind of put out there. But if you do a lot of stuff in AWS, that is a big target-rich environment. I would think the folks that we have Wiz as a partner of ours, they see attacks in AWS all the time. So I would just encourage folks to maybe poke at tools like this, see if one of your vendors maybe has one as well too in their arsenal, and if you don't use the open source one. This is just something that have it in your back pocket so that you can stop the attackers before they get access to everything like they have for a couple large.
isn't this the move though
folks.
that you were unhappy with that real estate transaction company a few weeks ago? They just
It
shut it
depends.
down?
Well, so they shut down the entire network. This is
Yeah.
shutting down a role that an attacker assumed. So
Okay.
I would argue that there is less risk of disrupting the ability for little Susie to have her house and have warm cocoa on Thanksgiving. Um,
All right. Just
than there
checking.
is with this one. I mean, I know you hate little Susie, and actually, you know what? It could have been little Benjamin. Hi, Benjamin. It could be little
Oh, we
Benjamin
love
that couldn't have
Benjamin.
cocoa. So
I would think that detaching the policies and deleting things would be a little bit of an IR no-no, like incident response no-no.
Yeah, this is kind of interesting to me from that perspective too.
I guess it
Right.
depends on how. I don't know how AWS like archives that or whatever, but yeah, like
Yeah. There would be a record of it, so
yeah,
at least there's that, but it's probably it feels very like fortress maneuver, like delete everything,
it's a
remove
big red button
everything.
for sure. Yeah,
yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, like I would
It's
like I would
cool.
yeah, I'm fairly certain. Like, I mean, kill switch does imply like that you've exhausted all the possibilities to be able to stop someone
instructions
from doing
clear.
something.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, I
yeah,
guess if you found a role or an account that you did not create or somebody else created in your environment, perhaps.
yeah. But yeah, so just take a look at it. Want to throw like a useful tool in that particular thing, given that it's been a focus of attackers. And again, it is a one-way operation. You are literally hosed if you do this in production and you just testing things out. Like you will get fired. So don't do that. Some shameless self-promotion. Emily, you're up first. You have a new offering over at Census.
Yeah, so I'll keep this brief. But we actually recently rolled out some new tiers, like pricing tiers for different levels of access. Because previously it was kind of you either had a free account or you kind of were at an organization who, was opting for an enterprise account. So we wanted something kind of in between there. And so if you go, you can go to this blog or you can go to directly to the pricing page, which is census.com/search-pricing. Um, and you can kind of see the different tiers we have. The one that's talked about here is Search Solo, kind of for individuals, like if you're kind of doing your own thing, doing ad hoc research projects. Um, you get 500 monthly queries as opposed to the 250 with the free account. But one thing that I really love that you get with the solo and up accounts is you get matched services. So, like if you're looking for example, you're looking for a particular piece of software. When you enter that into Census Search, you'll get all of the hosts back that match that, right? Like that have that piece of software on it, but it doesn't explicitly tell you like which port it's on. But with matched services, it does. So you can very quickly see like these are the ports that I'm most interested in on this host. So it kind of flags this for you. I just think it's kind of a neat feature. There's some other things as well. But yeah, I would say go check that out if you're interested in having access to more queries and a couple of extra perks. So
So
yeah.
for you folks that have to go around to all the cons, doing speaking or just hanging around for census, do you have to carry those stripe readers now so that you can take the credit cards with that?
No, so far no one's approached me about that, but
Okay,
we'll see if that happens.
gotcha. Okay, cool. Sorry, I just had to do that. I did warn you I was going to do
No,
that. So,
fair.
um, uh, actually, Glenn, you want to talk about this one because we just had a pretty neat blog up. Howdy, go howdy, doing a really neat thing with one of our new sensors or our new sensor technology.
Yeah, so Howdy on the research team basically did a little bit of a deeper dive on, for so background for our tagging and detections. We are very concerned with being, our goal is 100% accurate. We do our best. We get really, really, really close, but um, to do that, we need like a POC or we need the exploit code or we need to see what it actually looks like on the wire to be able to match it with utmost confidence. And so this is kind of an interesting use case where, as we've talked before about GreyNoise rolling out new sensors that we can do personas, we can change them up, like a lot of flexibility there. And so in this case, basically, we knew that there was the vuln for um, which one was this actually? Not Crush, but
Sysaid.
yeah, Sysaid, thank you. It was all at the same timeline. A vuln for Sysaid, we had prioritized, we have to prioritize our time just like everyone else. So it's like, do we spend our time doing reverse engineering, patch diffing to find this on our own? Do we look on the wire? Like, how are we going to acquire this POC? So basically, what they were able to do is stand up one of our new sensors with personas, and in no time it was found, and exploits were attempted so we could actually capture what that looks like. So it's just kind of an interesting write up of the use case as what GreyNoise is moving towards, which is the ability to really uh, throw up personas and honeypots that are very, very good looking, and capture that information sooner. Sith picks it up. Like, so we're completing this life cycle. That's going to be a big part of the future of the company and for our customers. So it's really cool. So it's just kind of an example use case. It's a pretty short read, but it shows the
Yeah.
value.
Am so excited about this because we've done this in the past. We just weren't
Hmm.
able to do it like quite as fast, and it
Complete,
was a
and
little
it's
bit more
complete too.
complex.
Well,
Yeah,
we had to
like this
do it
is
like on
huge.
our
Yeah,
own tooling. This is like through.
yeah.
This is what customers and users would be able to like click and.
And like we can grab the POC and derive a tag from that.
Yeah,
Just the accuracy of being able to actually like grab that PCAP and make a
Yeah,
tag from
exactly.
that, like make a detection from that. It's
hmm
just really reduces the amount that we have to
with
like
full
adjust
PCAP.
things
Yeah,
later.
yeah. The
Hmm.
confidence is so much higher, and it's
Yeah.
something that's
So
shareable, with other trusted
yes.
folks as either proof receipts for maybe exploitation or whatever.
Yeah, I am so looking forward to when we finally graduate out of EAP and it's GA and more folks can poke at this because there are just so many brilliant researchers out there who may not have a platform to do this on, or it's just harder to get this set up and have all the telemetry you need to pick it up. We're making it pretty straightforward to be able to just basically do whatever all these smart folks just said. So
Who doesn't want to
I
run a honeypot on their Raspberry Pi in under 5 minutes? I don't know.
Several thousand of them, in fact.
Cool. All right, we're gonna move on quick. Brief mention: December 14th, Thursday. Still time to register. We talked about SIFT a little bit today. Daniel Grant from the team is gonna lay it all down. The design team is just the graphics are getting it. They just impress all the time. So it's gonna look amazing. You're gonna get a deep knowledge dive. You're gonna learn a ton about SIFT and how it works. So go there for both all the cyber and AI and ML stuff. Go there for how it actually works, how you can take advantage of it. If you're a GreyNoise customer, or I think that we're going to still have a public thing for community as well too, so where you can poke at it. There's lots and lots of information. This is just going to be so good to see this. It unfortunately conflicts with what's happening over at Run Zero. Run Zero's got a webinar the same day, I think, or maybe there's this tomorrow. Hopefully there's this tomorrow because Run Zero's got a webinar. Go check it out. And like listen, like go to ours if it's the same day, and then listen to yours on demand, and or if it's not, just watch both back to back. We have a tag series again coming up in January, so we're going to lay out on how we do this work. We're going to give you all the deets on everything, so you're going to learn more about tags than you ever wanted to learn. We're going to talk about tags more than we ever wanted to. It's going to be a fun time. And we're not going to talk about any of the tags, the 9 tags. I think Brianna did a good chunk of these, so go Brianna. Wow. I almost couldn't fit it on the slide.
Killer
That's
week,
how
yeah.
yeah, seriously, if I have to go 2 slides, that's amazing. But yeah, we have a lot on there. Take a look what they are. Not a lot of activity on any one of them, but we've seen them in SIFT, so they're now inside. Most of them are in SIFT tags, so they're all there. We got to talk about Kev. I think we probably lost Todd. Todd was on from CISA. Hey, Todd. Can we validate that this is still true? Because they usually, Todd usually screws us over.
Looks like it's still true.
Okay, thank you for not screwing us over today, Todd. Appreciate that. Because normally
Oh,
you
it's
make me
Patch Tuesday, so it'll probably be this afternoon.
that's right. There you go. Cool. Well, if there's any known things, so take a look at that. Go there. We have lots of stats about we have lots of pretty Kev graphs because we care deeply about Kev. Like CISA is amazing. No, okay, hold on. We have to do that. So there you go. You have it from the Kev master himself. No Kev today yet. They've been busy. CISA been busy. They have a bunch of Kev drops from the past time we've been together. We will not have anything related to Qualcomm in the current state of GreyNoise. That may change in the future, so I'm not going to talk about them. We do have and beat again, usually as we tend to do, beat CISA like crazy. It's having detections for click sense and other things. So we have that out there, and they. And we're going to talk about this in a second. We're going to talk about it deeper, so I'm going to go there. But there is a Unitronics Vision PLC and HMI insecure default password problem vulnerability. They did a great job getting the word out about this and getting joint agencies across the globe getting this word out about this. So props on them for coordinating. If you all did that coordination, you may have been coordinated on, but you got the information out, so that was great. And I have a little silhouette there because we do not have a tag for this, and we'll talk about that. We have a persona for this though, so we will also talk about that. So I'm just going to go really quick over to you've seen this slide before, but I know Emily, you wanted to talk a little bit about this in a little bit more detail.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention it because I just think it's kind of timely and interesting. I don't even know where I'm going with that. But yeah, I think this is really interesting because this is kind of another example of real world things having an impact on, the cyber domain. And for no real other reason than sort of ideologically minded kind of hacktivist groups are going after things that happen to be manufactured in a country that they, don't particularly have great feelings for. And so I think that's interesting. I thought the advisories also from the Water ISAC and from CISA were interesting, the recommendations. I found it kind of interesting that one of the first recommended things to do was to change the default password. Take it off the internet. Maybe it shouldn't be on the internet in the first place. That kind of feels maybe more of a thing that might be worth addressing, at least from my view, but I don't know. Definitely do change the default password. That's a great idea.
Put it behind it. Put it behind a VPN. Yeah, put it behind a VPN.
Put it behind a VPN,
maybe.
Right? If it has to be on the internet, right? There are ways around just having it out on the public internet. And so we did write a scanner for this one. last week or the week before. I don't even
Yes,
remember
yes,
what
you
his time.
did. Yes,
We
yes, you
did.
did.
We did. And so like as of right now, we're still seeing about 840 of these online. So they're still out there, which kind of raises questions of sort of like who's next, unfortunately.
Like, I wonder, is 840 a lot? Like, I don't know. I'm just wondering, like, are there millions of these? And then, 840 is
Yeah.
not a lot as far as a percentage, or is 840 like 95% of these?
Yeah.
I'm gonna read this because Sis like Todd. I know that you're not the only person. Like Sis is like a couple
Love that
thousand
meat
people.
popsicle is.
But Todd is a very special, amazing human who's that says it.
Yes.
And from Kev, note that while it is possible to change the default password, implementers are encouraged to remove affected controllers from public networks per vendor advice.
Yeah.
So this is on there. We're not going to keep it under an
I
arm.
really,
so-
really, 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 really want to get someone that is like someone on the show that has to help retroactively secure these things. Like,
That
I
would be
want to spend half a
fascinating.
day
It
talking
would,
about
yeah. So some beleaguered person at some rural water authority. Yeah, that'd be great. That
Yeah,
just
absolutely.
beat on them during this.
Talk
It'd be
about some
great.
challenges.
Totally,
No,
yeah.
it'd be therapy, I think. Yeah, for sure.
So Ashley almost got under an arm, but we'll go quick. So you may not be able to say this, but people would notice if it were. Are you doing just the web UI scanner, or are you doing the actual PCOM TCP scanning? If you can't tell us,
This is a question for me.
Yeah.
I would actually have to go back and look. I want to say it's TCP
Okay.
scanning.
Yeah, so just for folks out there, I'm going to go to the because we're almost done. If you happen to be in the GreyNoise EAP program, and there's someone on here that might be able to get you in if you're really nice to Kimber. The like just be like it is that time of year. Like maybe bribes will get you an EAP. We have it on there, and we've actually had personas running for these for a while now for $ reasons. One reason why I reacted strongly to like Emily letting us know Census was scanning for I saw those scans. Whoa,
you
did
were
I
like,
see?
whoa, Census is looking for these. We're like, yep.
Whoa, is Census looking for these things out there? And the one thing our new sensors, we have all the data from them. They are not wired up into the actual like viz, so you will not see this in the visualizer. We are rapidly working to do that. We're having lots of fun making that happen. One thing I will say, and we also do not have this is a lightweight persona running on the web stuff only. So while we can see the PCOM TCP attempts, we don't because we're not actually responding, no one's giving us anything. But what we are seeing is folks that are hitting the web UI to see if there is like a web UI, and then like immediately afterwards going and trying to hit the PCOM port to see if it's actually open. So there people care, and it isn't just like Census and other folks doing that. Like there are nefarious folks out there doing these things, and I don't think anyone that runs these things is listening to here. But if you are, like, get these things off the internet.
Well, and also if you are, talk to me about how we can make these personas better. And I would love to talk to some water utilities people or general utilities people. I know that I met somebody at BlackCat who was a big GreyNoise fan and also in the utility sector. So I'm hoping that person reemerges.
If you run if you run a controller for something that is very, very important to your industry, but no one outside of your industry has ever heard of it, let's talk.
Yeah. I want to listen to your brain dumps about this. I will gladly spend an hour or more listening to somebody talk about this stuff because it's so interesting.
Yeah, and we will probably do something about the Unitronic stuff in 2024, just because we do have a lot of data around what was happening around it. So stay tuned for that one. But yeah, and to Emily's point, I fully expect to see more of this happening. We have been talking for months now. Actually, I think both Census and we have been talking in blogs about this, but just in recent months, the spillover from international conflicts is a real thing. It's happened a lot before. It's going to continue to happen. This is a deliberate one that is not just defacing an airline's website. That's what a regional airline's website, which is what some of the more like ones that made it to news before are. So this is just going to get worse, and it's just going to get worse next year. And the final topic, almost staying in time. Another great drop by CISA again. Almost every week they seem to have one of these now, and this is another joint one. So many logos, so many international logos on this document. Sissa just got, I think it was the fourth. They have their little coffee club of people that help them like do the vulnerability management stuff. I forget what it's called now. And they just did a report. One of the reports about focusing on memory safety. The same time that group dropped their information, that the coordinated stuff. Now there's this cool PDF. Go grab it, read it. It's really really good. It's a case for memory safe roadmaps, like basically why you should consider switching your internal tooling to the same things the attackers use and are using to their benefit. Maybe you can use them to your benefit too. Maybe take some learnings from there. Just the stats that were like UG, which I kind of already knew, but they were still UG. 70% of Microsoft CVEs, 2006 2018 corpus were were there because of memory safe problems. 70% of Chromium project garbage is because of memory safe problems. 94% of critical high Mozilla bugs are because of memory safe problems, and 67% of the O days in Project Zero's 2021 corpus are because of memory safe problems. Like, take the hint. Golang's great, Rust is great, Dlang's great. All these languages are great. You just stop it with C. Just stop it. Anybody, you feel free to add more to that. Like, I just had to get that rant in because like we don't need to have C anymore.
No, we're just trying not to make Ashley upset at us for going so long.
Alrighty then. So to close this out, as I say goodbye to each of you, and again, thank you both for being here. So it wasn't just Glenn. I'm gonna go in reverse order. Do Glenn first. Glenn, do you have any advice for the viewers that are left, or the listening on the pod, or
That are left.
after? Well, I mean, it's an hour. People got stuff to do, right? So, how to stay safe this shopping season if they're doing last minute shopping online?
The thing, like, so my go-to move that has proven to be very effective is use virtual credit card numbers. Like most, not all, but a lot of banks, you can log in and create a virtual credit card number, and you can make it good for a year, 2 years, put limits, whatever. But like I think everyone knows, like if you use the RFID or you use like your Apple Pay or something, like those identifiers change each time you use it. So that's great because if they're stored in a database, it's worthless, right? If it gets discovered. But online, when you're typing in a credit card number, you don't always know. So virtual credit card numbers are a great way to either one-time use or at least limit like the impact of some shenanigans if a database gets jacked. So
Cool.
that'd be mine.
Kimber, what's your advice to folks?
My favorite thing that I ever did, I did last year, which was paid all cash to local businesses or went to Christmas markets and, you know, well, I guess holiday markets, like general winter markets, local, they do a lot of local festivals this time of year where people are selling things that they make. And those people
Shop
love
local.
getting cash instead
Adopt,
of.
don't shop. All of those apply.
It's
Yeah.
pretty cool. I agree with that, Harley. Everyone should just drive up to Maine or fly over to Maine and just spend local here. They go, bikes, feel free to do it.
Carbon emissions to get there and then just spend local.
Yeah.
Okay,
Support local business.
you could bike or like kayak here if you want to. I mean, it is
Take a
possible to
long
do that.
time.
I don't know if I should answer Todd with a bank name or.
Yeah, you should. Why not?
Privacy.com.
Privacy.com is the
There
one
you
I was
go.
thinking.
So the question is for viewers. Todd asked, well, who offers them anymore? Because I haven't seen them either. Like I've seen them go away.
City,
so yeah,
City,
Apple
my City
also
MasterCard has one as well. So like Legacy, yeah.
And Emily, your advice to folks.
Yeah, so I echo both of those. I would also throw in using a throwaway email. That's more just to like protect yourself from kind of annoyance, but also like, I don't know, I'm a big fan of throwaway emails or like email aliases, right?
Yeah.
I know iCloud makes that very easy now. I don't know, just as an extra little layer of like, one less piece of information.
There's a wonderful conspiracy theory out there that Temu, the AliExpress knockoff / Amazon knockoff, leads to being hacked on your Instagram.
Oh, that's fascinating.
Yeah, it's a great conspiracy theory. I'm not going to dive any deeper than that. If you use Temu, the kids say you get hacked. So.
Well, I guess we need a Instagram honeypot.
That's cool. I am going to channel my inner Lucy and just say, as she did, just send cash.
I like it. Just send cash.
Cool.
to
All right. Well,
your local
th-
nonprofits.
yeah, why not? Seriously, seriously. So I thank you all for taking time out today for that. Todd, thank you for joining us today. Ashley, thanks for all the work you do. And we will catch everybody on the next Stormwatch.
Bye.